Today on the 5-Minute Book Review starring Curtis and Ian, we take a much anticipated look at Me Talk Pretty One Day, first published in 2000. Me Talk Pretty is a collection of essays about life and family and relationships by, of course, Mr. David Sedaris. It's random, it's amusing, and it's now. Coin toss to start, and Curtis is the winner.
5-Minute Book Review starring Curtis and Ian, and today we got a brand new episode with Me Talk Pretty One Day by Mr. David Sedaris. Now, good or bad, this guy is always and will forever be compared to Chuck Klosterman, another author we review regularly on this episode. You might remember Mr. Sedaris from last Christmas when we reviewed the amazing Holidays on Ice. This is, again, just a collection of essays, and I can see why people compare him to Klosterman, because they both do essays about kind of pop culture. However, Chuck Klosterman's make you laugh, and every once in a while, this guy just makes you really sad, reflecting on you and your life. The thing that sticks out most of his book is when he's talking about relationships, and he's currently in a kind of dead-end relationship at one point in here, and he just says the line about how, you know why movies only make stories about the beginning or endings of relationships? Because that's the only interesting part. Man, that's heavy and depressing. And he's sadly right. After that, I took a walk. I was like, that's horrible. Ian?
Yeah, no, he's definitely a lot more introspective than your Chuck Klosterman. I don't know, I still think he's funny, though. Like, I mean, he's definitely I got some good laughs out of his books. It's a series of essays, theoretically autobiographical. Embellished somewhat, yes, still funny, still interesting. Introspective is a good word for him, though. I've read a couple of his books now, again, at your recommendation, and I would agree. I found myself walking the dog thinking about stuff after reading his books, too. And, I mean, to me, that's a sign of a good book, regardless of any other factors in it. That a book that makes you think is rarely a bad thing. I quite enjoy his work. I haven't read much yet. I know you're a big fan. I am looking forward to reading more, and that's, I guess, probably the best thing you can say about a book is that it makes you think and it makes you want to read more of that author's work, and he's done that successfully with this one. Again, series of essays, so don't go looking for a string-through narrative on it.
The one complaint I have is that, I mean, just with his writing style, I know it shouldn't be a big issue, but I feel like it is, because both times I went into his book and I forgot that he's homosexual, and it just, you're like, it just gets... It's weird at first till you remember that, and I mean, I guess that's not something you want to stamp on the front. Maybe you do, but for me it was just like, what? Oh, right, okay, now it makes sense. Now I'm going with the story. However, again, there's one short story in here. I almost saw a girl get killed. That is the greatest thing I have ever, I will say, hands down, Ian. That is the biggest compliment I can give. Seriously, that short story is the greatest thing I've ever read from this book.
And it's pretty fantastic. I don't know, like, it's hard for me to describe his writing. I mean, he's one of these guys who write these sort of collections of essays that are sort of introspective about pop culture, that are funny and thoughtful, and guys like him and Klosterman, it's hard to describe their writing. Like, I mean, you can describe them with those words, but you can't really understand it till you read it. And if you're into it, you're into it. If you're somebody that is into reading about pop culture, is into this sort of level of thought about yourself and society, then yeah, these books will appeal to you. But I gotta admit, it's a good collection.
I almost saw a girl get killed. I started talking about a thing and I got cut off by these darn time restraints, and I have no one to blame but myself. But yeah, seriously, even if you just pick this up, read that one like 10-page essay, it is the best thing I've ever read. It is flawless, and that is worth alone the price of the book.
I think the nice thing about books like this is, you know, it's nice to pick up, you know, nice pieces of fiction or overarching sort of historical biographies or whatever you're reading and sit down and read a complete piece of work. But it's nice to read these collections of these essays that are all interesting. They're self-contained units to sit down and be able to go through it and put it down when you reach the end of one, and pick it up like 2 weeks later if you go start reading something else and come back to it, and it's still funny and interesting, but you haven't lost your place.
And you can tell Mr. Sedaris still kind of liked himself when he wrote this book, because, man, yeah, as the books progress, as you read his 4th and 5th book, he does not like himself, and that really cuts down on the comedy and his ability to write comedy, because he does not enjoy himself. Yeah. However, going back in time, Me Talk Pretty One Day, highly recommended. And then buy it, go straight to I Almost Saw a Girl Get Killed, read that.
Or just read it through and you'll get to it.
Flawless.
Yeah. Perfect.